Oh, and I forgot something else. In regards to wasting spirits, like in terms of like guys, because the last couple of videos when I talk about wasting spirits, I'm talking about guys. Same thing for girls. Same thing for friendships, right? It's not just a romantic thing. Same thing, right? It's a lot of times it's easier for a man to be wasting spirit just because, you'll be in the talking stage with somebody for 3 months to a year. Y'all will date each other or see each other or whatever for what, 2 years, 3 years. Then y'all break up and mess around for like a year. You know what I mean? It's just like, that's just a time waster. That's just ridiculous. That's just unnecessary pain. But I feel like it could happen with friends as well, because like the enemy can attack you through a friend. Okay. And when I'm talking about wasting spirits, it's not a male or a female thing. It's that, remember the enemy cannot come up to you any kind of way. He cannot just say, oh, I'm going to attack Sarah Elizabeth today. Boom. Right. He has to literally have access to you. Okay. So if you are living a fairly repentant lifestyle, you're not doing anything crazy, you're not talking about about anybody crazy, then he has to say, okay, let's see who I can send, right? So then he'll look for people that he has access to, and he'll send that person to you to attack you. Now, how these attacks work vary. It could be horrendous things, like somebody pimping you out and like setting you up to get raped. It could be that was really bad. I don't know who needed to hear that. It could be somebody, setting you up, like, oh my gosh, this guy would be such a great guy for you. Like, I feel like you would love this guy. I feel like he'd be a great guy for you. And then you start to like him, and they're like, oops, sorry, I had sex with him. And your heart is broken after you had sex with him. Or it could be perhaps a friend that is like, oh, can I borrow some money? I'll pay you back. Can I borrow some money? I'll pay you back. And before you know it, you are funding this person's lifestyle, and they have absolutely no intentions of paying you back. It could be a lot of stuff. So yeah, there are some tragic stories. There are some stories that aren't so tragic, but they can all be avoided if you just ask the Holy Spirit about your friends. If you're a believer, you have access to the Holy Spirit. You can ask the Holy Spirit about your friends. You actually house the Holy Spirit if you're a believer. So you say, hey, Holy Spirit, what about Sarah Elizabeth over here? Or Sarah, you know what I'm saying? And he'll say, she's messy. Get away from her, right? Or he'll say, like, put some distance between you two. I'll never forget, God told me years ago, put some distance between you and this person because she's messy. And I said, there's nothing messy about this person, Lord. 6 months later, I saw oopsie daisy, and I had the scars to prove it, okay? Oh, gosh, that was horrendous. Listen, I'll never forget one time I met this girl, and the moment I met her, mind you, at this point I was in sin. I had no idea what was going on. But I met this girl, and it was like the Lord was like, don't be friends with her. No. Like, I would hear her name and get anxious because she was friends with somebody I was friends with. And the girl that she was friends with that I was friends with, let's say that girl's name was Uriah, and then the girl that I was friends with that knew her name was Jessica. When Jessica would talk about Uriah, I would literally get anxious. I'd be like I would feel uneasy. But then when I met Uriah in person, I was like, I feel uneasy. I feel unsafe. I continued to be friends with Uriah because she was close friends with Jessica. Scars. Who's the bad guy in the situation, though? Who's the bad guy, honestly? Who's the bad guy? Me. Why? Because I got not one but 2 warnings. And guess what? Here's the real kicker. When I became friends with Jessica about 2 years before I met Uriah, I got a warning about Jessica. When I became friends with Jessica, I got a warning about that girl. So I say that to say, if God warns you about somebody and you choose to ignore the warning, sweetie, you're not the victim. Sorry, stinky. Y'all partnered up. Y'all teamed up to hurt you. And you were willing. You were loving it, I guess. I guess that's what you like. But you're not the victim in that situation. Okay, when God warns you about somebody and you choose to ignore that warning, you are not the victim, right? If God says, hey, don't talk to that man over there. Say his name is Marvin. Don't talk to Marvin, right? And you're like, oh, but I really like Marvin. He's so cute. We'll just be friends, Lord. And then you end up messing with Marvin. And y'all have a baby together. And Marvin ends up being another deadbeat trash dad. You can't say, oh, God, how could this happen to me? This isn't fair. No, it is fair. God, that's why God told you not to talk to Marvin. Same thing if you're like, oh my gosh, this girl, Mickey, she's so sweet. I love her. And God's like, don't talk to her. She's messy. Right? When Mickey ends up being so messy and she like is dangerous, like she's one of those boy crazy people. She always has y'all in some mansion somewhere doing crazy stuff with a bunch of crazy men. You don't get to say, oh my gosh, Lord, how could Mickey do this? No. How could you do that to you? Okay? So love yourself enough to obey God. Love yourself enough to get comfortable being alone. Some of y'all are going to go through some lonely seasons, but it's really actually quite fun after you get used to it, right? Some boring seasons. And I'm learning that God will take people through boring seasons to get them used to like what restoration looks like, right? Because if you are living a life of peace and restoration, you're not going to have a lot of chaos. Like you probably won't have any chaos, honestly, because you'll be so on point in your prayer life as well that you'll be able to cancel attacks before they even come. So what God has to do a lot of times is take you through periods of time where like you're really bored. And it's once you get through like the boredom, like through like the actual adjustment of it all, you realize, oh, God's just training me for this next season, because he knows that if I were to be thrust into this next season, I would say, oh, I'm bored, and I would look for excitement in sin the way I used to. So yeah, ask God, ask God, ask God. If you're a believer, you can ask God. If you're not a believer, become one. It's not that hard. Anyone who calls upon the name of the Lord will be saved. So very, very simple. Bye.